So it's a session about Data Studio. I've asked to my friend if they will be interested to do something with me, and they say yes, 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 yes. So I'm really, really happy to be with you. I'm gonna begin by sharing the screens with, of course, slides made with Data Studio. And so for watching it correctly, you can enlarge the window corresponding to the sharing screen. So it's more about Data Studio, and I can say that the title is just here because we need a title, but we talk about Data Studio, what we love to use in Data Studio this year with amazing speakers. So Alice, Lee, Michael, Ralph, and me, and of course you. You can ask us using the Q&A what you need to know if you've got some difficulties, some things that it's hard for you to apply inside Data Studio. We are here to help you too. I let Alice introduce.
Okay, well, I'm going to start by sharing my screen, getting that set up right away.
No, just introduce you, talk about
just introduce myself.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. I'm a UX expert and a Data Studio, Data Viz geek. I just like, spending time trying to make things work for other people and setting up good communications. So that's what I do. I'm in Montreal. I've been working with Ralph, who's also here to present today for 20 odd years. And yeah, I just really, really like Data Studio. I find it's amazing. That's it. And these guys, I don't know how we all met, but I think it's Ralph's fault.
Twitter, yeah.
You tell me.
Yeah.
Alice, I think your cat wants to take part in the session too.
Yeah, I'm just going to shut off my mic for a minute.
Oh.
Hi, I'm Leehurst. I'm a Data Studio, guide. So I've been working with Data Studio for a long time and have collaborated with all of these folks from time to time. I have written a book that's out on Amazon from a real publisher. Yay! It's hands-on with Data Studio. So I spent several months hiding in my study, writing away. Don't do that. Don't write a book if you can help it, or at least publish it yourself. But so I really enjoy working with just random people online. It broadens my horizons to see their issues and problems, and increases my understanding of the product and what can be done with it. So, and I just love working on Twitter with all these other people. We all jump in to help when someone needs it. So great community. Thank you.
Michael?
Hi, guys. So I'm, I guess, a digital analyst, digital marketing analyst, working in Toronto, Canada. Yeah, came across Google Data Studio maybe, gosh, I don't know, 4 years ago, and then just really enjoyed it and how accessible it was. Very almost no barrier to entry. It's just free, and still enjoy what I work with Tableau a lot, but I still enjoy working with Google Data Studio, and especially I think the Google Maps edition has really changed what it can do, and so I just really enjoy and also spending time on Twitter. I write a blog occasionally and help where I can, although most of the times I'm the one asking for help. But yeah, that's about me. That's pretty much it about me.
Ralph?
Yeah. So my name is Ralph. Also live in Montreal. on the other side of the river from Alice. We've been working together for 20 years doing websites. We've been web design. And 2 years ago, I decided to leave this area a little bit, not completely, a little bit, and start doing data visualizations. And this is when I discovered the Data Studio and the possibilities that you can do custom visualizations. And so I'm doing this now for, I would say, a year and a half, really focusing on Data Studio. There are like three visualizations out there in Data Studio, and there's a complete library, a commercial library that you can get on an SaaS basis and to really make great reports. Yeah, Medi, I think you're
unmute, Medi.
You're on mute.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. And so Medi Oudjida, Data Studio user, small user of Data Studio, and trying to share some stuffs about that with my friends.
Small user, yeah.
So what we've proposed today is to talk about what we cooked and experiment on Data Studio and which feature we enjoy to use, and so with some demo from the speakers. Then talk about the expectation and what we need as an improvement inside Data Studio, because of course it's an amazing tool, but we always demand some improvement to get a better user experience as designers. And at last, so we try to keep some minutes to answer to the question, because it's probably the more important to get some feedback and to try to share with other users. So I will try to give the sharing to Alice. Alice, could you click on the share screen button at the bottom of your window?
Yes, I just have to find the right document to share. And all right, I guess it's to me then.
Yep, you can see it.
Fine.
Very good. Well, hi, I'm Alice. Hope everybody's having a good time, enjoying the event, and thanks to Medi for bringing us here today. As I've said, I've been working for the last 20 years or so on digital UX projects, websites, and all other kinds of interactive communications. I'm sorry for my cat. She's deaf, and when she sees me talking to other people, she always wants to be involved. So as UX, I don't, you're going to be talking to real experts. They know what they're talking about. I don't, I just follow, I just try and keep up. But I'm going to talk about some of the, 3 or 4 of the top things in UX that I know we can do well in Data Studio. So yes, one focused message. That's what you need to know. Your focused message for you guys is users. You build a report for them, so it's important for you to learn what's important to them. You need to know you need to know your audience, and you need to help them stay focused. A CEO, for example, is always looking for something like 3 actionable items. An analyst, however, wants 33 million options. So obviously they need to see different reports. A couple of tips. If your report is going to be read on a touch device, a phone or a tablet, you can't use these tooltips to tell the tale. However, if you are using tooltips, make sure that the labels that are on them are relevant. If your audience is 40 years of age or older, do us a favor, make the text especially, but everything larger than you think it needs to be. And if, as in the case of these gauges, you're working with data like targets, add a page to the end of your report that lets folks know where you got these target numbers from. It'll make a difference to them if they know that your numbers are from last month or the last 6 months. There we go. The human brain, that's a big part of UX. The human brain is fascinating, but it does have limitations. And in fact, We are at our optimal level of retention and understanding when we're presented with 3 or 4 things at a time. Not more than that. You can't do it. So do everybody a favor. Dose your data. Limit how much you include at one time. Keep it focused. Provide hierarchy to get us through. Biggest titles and charts for the highlights. Medium for main topics, and then the details. Group like things together. And here's the biggest tip I'm going to give you today. White space. White space is your friend. Give your charts room to breathe, and your users' brains will thank you. Also, most of us are not all that logical. Don't assume that someone else can follow your logic. Try not to rely on it to ensure comprehension. Good labels. That's the key. Humans are emotional, and while I'd love to talk about color theory and how that works, there's not enough time, so I'm going to go with context and bias. You need to provide context. Take time to write out good labels. They really help us make sense of things. As an example, such and such a metric is down 97% over the previous month, and you know that it's the 3rd month in a row that this is the case. Well, then that should be the title. Metric X is down X% for the 3rd month in a row. Now you've given somebody some context and information that they can use. The global targets here in these gauges should take into consideration some form of weighting for other data like population and campaigns. And your title should reflect that. These should be better than what they are. So what I've just introduced now is something called bias. We all have bias. We collect some data and not others. So by that simple fact alone, there is bias in what you're presenting. Ralph, for example, he likes green. I don't. I like blue. So I'll unconsciously favor blue charts and feel negatively toward green ones. Now you can't know that, but there are all kinds of biases, so you sort of need to be aware. The sales guy whose numbers show that he's not up to par with the rest of them, you know what? He's not going to be very happy about things and will probably question your numbers. It's just a normal emotional reaction. Stephanie Green of Evergreen Data did a really great article recently on this topic about how to mitigate the fallout of bias and emotion. So you guys should all go read that. There's a link down here on the bottom. And that's about as much as I can fit into 5 minutes. I want to leave time for questions. And so now on to our president, Helpful Lee. And I'll have to figure out how to stop. Medi, don't stop sharing.
Yeah,
you can stop sharing with the same button, I think.
I tried all this, and it's not working. Up here. Okay, sorry, I got it.
Fine, thank you. So Lee, if you wish, I can share for you the screen, I think.
Yeah, if you want to drive, that's great. That's fine if you want to share that page. I can talk you through that.
Okay.
So I have kind of a narrow focus today. A couple of things that I've been working with. I work a lot on the fringes of Data Studio, things that people don't normally use it for, because there is a broader audience for Data Studio as a platform outside of just marketing data. So we have people in the education space and application space using it. So we try to explore all sorts of different capabilities. One thing that I noticed early on was Data Studio does not have a random number function. And you may wonder why you would want a random number function. It comes in handy for all sorts of things. In just a few cases, and maybe you can think of more. First is a cache buster argument for URLs. If you're creating a report that is referencing something like an image or a web page that changes frequently, then those images may be cached. I know Michael was working on one with people that don't exist, and we were running into all sorts of caching problems. And at the time, there was no way to generate a random number. The way this works is you just put an extra argument on your URL, and that provides a unique URL and causes your browser and the server to give you a new image. The second thing that we ran into is this reordering of a set of records. And I have a link there, Medi, right next to the Tilton data where it says giving thanks, and we can see an example of this. There you go. And it may take a second to load. So I was working with Laura Tilton a little bit. She had a problem. She had this idea for random phrases to show up on a screen, and she was having a problem getting them to be random. So with this dashboard, what it does is every time you reload it, it comes up with a new random sampling of the phrases here and puts them in the little window. So yeah, if you reload it, hopefully it'll give you a new one. There we go. So things should be in different locations now.
Yeah.
Thank you. So that's one example of a way to do it. Again, that's more of a application-oriented example. May not be something that you use. Mehdi, if you want to go back to the slide, you would be good. Just to the other tab, I think. There you go. Perfect. So another use for this might be taking a random sample of your data. So suppose you want just 10 random records. It's very hard to do. And other uses might be security. We use random numbers in security quite a bit. I haven't played with that yet, but it came to mind that you might be able to use a private key and a random key. Anyhow, so how do you get a random number in Data Studio? You don't. You can create a pseudo random number. So a random number requires some sort of a seed usually. And in this case, we finally have a way to do this, and that's by using current date time. This is a function that will give you a current timestamp with seconds, as well as it'll even go down to milliseconds if you have that capability. The way you get your random number is subtracting the current date time from another date. And you're just measuring the number of seconds between those two, or milliseconds. This will give you a non-determined number, anyhow. With that number, you can then use that as a seed to create random numbers for different rows. So in the case that we just saw, there was a row number for each. There's a row number whenever a saying is added. And so we're able to use our seed along with that row number to create a new random number for that row, or pseudo random number. So what do I mean by a pseudo random number? It's not perfectly random. However, it's pretty darn close, and it's hard to tell from a regular random number. To do this, what we do is we take our seed number, and I've on number 4 here, you can see there's a special formula. I went out and looked this up. I was trying to find a function that would give me a randomish number, and we use sine, and or you could use cosine, but there's some discussions about using sine functions on the net, on the web, and found this wonderful function that distributes your numbers all over the place. So once you apply this function, it gives you a very random feeling number, which is great. Now, the other thing that you want to do with these random numbers, or you may also want to do, is say, I want a collection of only 10 items. but you've got random numbers that are all over the place. So the question is, how do you put these into buckets? So to bucketize things in analysis, we usually use something called modulo math or modulus math. And basically that's modulo is the fancy name for what's left over after division. So I have an example there. This is normally you would see that percentage sign in most systems used as the modulo operator. So we have 20 mod 6, which is basically 20 divided by 6, and then the leftover amount is 2. So the special thing about modulo is no matter what you do, it's always going to be in the range between 0 and 5. So by using this formula at the bottom, since we don't have a modulo operator, we do have the way to calculate modulo. So that's the bottom calculation there. So basically what that allows you to do is take any set of numbers and put them into buckets. You can say, I want 100 buckets or I want 5 buckets. This allows you to then put your data into those buckets, and then you can sort it by each bucket. So that's how we did those random sayings on there. We basically dumped everything into a random number, then we dumped them into buckets because there are 29 spots on the board, and hopefully one comes up each time we reload in each of those buckets. So a couple of just weird things here. Again, it's not completely random. Since you are generating random numbers, though, or pseudo-random numbers, initially we had rows 1 through 29. When we're generating these new random numbers and random buckets, there's no guarantee that there is a completely equal distribution. So you may have buckets with more items and less, just like if you were flipping a coin just by chance, you would have sometimes the coins won't come up with your toss. So just things to consider. You may be able to use these. Please contact me if you're interested in that. There's another, I have an example playground there so you can see other examples. So thank you.
Thank you, Lee. Now I understand now why Titan Data thanks you a few days ago on Twitter. It's very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now Michael gonna talk about Google Maps.
Yeah, hi everyone. So today I just thought I'd just go over a couple of different maps that I've made in Google Data Studio, and maybe you'll find them interesting. Maybe it could be a bit of an inspiration for some things that you want to do. So these are all just kind of personal projects or things that I had an interest in. Medi, am I able to share my screen?
Oh, yes, you can do it.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, Michael, just use, it might be easier to choose Chrome instead of the full.
Good idea. There we go. All right, so we can, so I do run can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Great, just got to do that check. So I do post, I haven't do blog posts, but mainly Google Data Studio stuff. So this is something that I had an interest in, was basically looking at crime in South Africa, where I'm from, and this is a pretty huge data set, and the police stations, all the data is broken down by police station, and using a technique in Google Sheets, you can get Well, actually, no. I didn't use the latitude longitude for this. I think I simply used the name of the police station, the province, and the country, and it automatically generates its location. So if we zoom in, it'll give you. So you can really get, really an in-depth breakdown of data by location, which I think is pretty cool. And obviously you get the filtering, so I'll just pick a random province and it filters down to this province. So this is something that previously you could have only done in Tableau or Power BI or some custom GIS software, but now you can make something pretty detailed in Google Data Studio. And yeah, this and a new I think a new feature in Google Maps was a filled map area. Up until recently, the initial launch of Google Maps, you could only do these bubble dots. And not too long ago, I think just a couple of months ago, they added a filled area map. So
Yeah.
What's cool about this is that you can, previously it was very, if you wanted to have a filled area, you'd have to use a geo map, and that was quite tricky to show differences across two countries. So, for example, the US and Canada is a great example where where you might want to show regional differences. So this is something that's now possible with the filled area in Google Maps in Google Data Studio. So let's put on and we can dive down a bit more. So we can switch between looking at like the US or Canada or the US and Canada. So I think it's pretty cool. And
they recently added a new legend also.
Yes, I haven't really done anything about the new legend. It's but there's also something quite cool, which you can now do using parameters. And let me just find it. You can, so for example, here I think this is just using Google Analytics data. We have country, but using a parameter, you can now switch down into different geographic levels. So for example, country, you can switch to region. So now we have by state and also down into city.
Yeah, we can make a lot of very funny stuff with maps.
Yeah. So you've just got a huge amount of flexibility now. You can choose in one. Previously you might have to have three different maps, one for country, region, city. Now you can have it in one. You can switch between which metrics you're showing. So a lot of flexibility. This was something I made just like a personal project where I wanted to map out like travel photos on a map. So if let's pick Canada.
Yeah, with picture. Yeah, it's very nice. This one is very nice with colors, because on the other example we've got only one color with shades, and on this one we've got several various color.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
so I've just chosen it to have it colored by country, but you could color it by perhaps the year you traveled somewhere or something like that. You can.
I'm sorry, Michael. We've got a problem of time.
Oh, sure. Well, I've pretty much just come to the end, just showing you a couple of examples. So hopefully, yeah, maybe, hope people enjoyed that.
We've put links to all blogs at the end of the slides, so people will enjoy the contents after the session. I think we need to go ahead with Ralph. Ralph, it's your time.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna share my my Chrome tab here. Just let me say if everybody can see that. Yeah, okay, all right. So you might have seen this. This is a Sunburst diagram. This is there now for like over a year in Data Studio. I just show you, like, if you want to use it at home, it's just go into community visualizations, and it's the first up here, the Sunburst diagram. So you can play around with it on your own. So some might say, well, this is just a giant donut chart. Don't use this. It's useless. Nobody can see anything in it. I would disagree a little bit in it. I think it's a great discovery tool. And just here, I'm using like 3 dimensions at the same time, like continents, age, and the time of the day, the time of the week where people are actually visiting the website. So you can very quickly see that, like most people here, this is the data from the Google sample store, are coming from North America, which is not a big surprise. You have like people then from Asia and from Europe, pretty much the same way. You can discover this very quickly, and at the same time, you can see what are the age groups. So in North America, you know, it's the 25 to 24 year age group. If you go into Asia, it's the same thing. Same again in Europe. But then if you go into like what is the busiest day, you know, of the week, it's Monday for North America, and it's actually Wednesday for Asia. So like this is like in pretty much no time you can discover like these differences. And if you go into Europe, it's Thursday. So I think it's a great tool for quick discovery. Then the next thing is like you can actually click on these segments, and it will filter whatever charts you have on the same page in the report, and you can filter down like step by step. And you always see the legend here. So now we are in Americas, the age group 25 to 35. And the day of the week, you can see Monday is the busiest day, and then Tuesday. If you would zoom out here and you would go somewhere else, you would go maybe here in Europe, you would just get, you know, like different data, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday. And you could also see if this improved over the previous time frame. So now we are basically what we're doing here with these 3 dimensions. We are faking kind of hierarchical data, and the question is like, could we use this like with real hierarchical data, like for example a site tree? And it's a different chart. It's not in the free series. This is in the commercial bundle that I have, and it's still in beta mode. It's not completely finished, but it's already 99% functional. And what you can see here on the right is basically 846 pages. And this is the data here, like this path data that you can see that you can have in Google Analytics data. It's like page or landing page. You get this kind of data. It's this data just visualized in a Sunburst. And it gives you some pretty nice insight here. For example, if you look at the page Google and redesign, there are 0 page views. This page doesn't exist. It's so basically everything. It's just a stop page, and there are probably with redirections. And then you can go into the sub pages, and you can see here. Okay, the apparel page view has like 9,000. Here we have like 3,000. But you can see which are the most visited sections. And the same time here, I can zoom down. I improved a little bit on the animations on the zooming. And you can also see that there was, I'm just going to zoom it out. There's like a level that just appeared here. So you can limit the number of levels you're going to show at the same time. So if you have like pages that are very, very, very deep, you can still have it visible on a first map. And then you can basically explore a little bit, like very quickly, you can explore your website. And so whoever is doing SEO, that might be, you can also use this with session durations.
I'm sorry, Ralph.
Kind of
It's the end of the session since a lot of time.
Oh, okay.
And they probably begin with the closing session. There's so much thing to say, and it was probably too ambitious to talk about so much subject in 30 minutes. So I'm very sorry to cut your presentation.
No problem. I mean, there's the slides out there. You can just link to it and you can go through yourself.
Yeah, exactly. We will share the data studio to all the attendees. I think part of the attendees switched to the closing session, so I invite all the other attendees with us to go to the main area and to enjoy the closing. And I stay on the main area with my friends, so if we've got some question about Data Studio or other subjects of analytics, we are here also for you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.